be for 2025.
I presume you'll get a choice
No,
if RS
no,
speaks.
no, you have a choice. You can do whatever you want.
Really?
Yeah, you can make it to next year. Okay. You know the date's 20, like my understanding from taxes, it's 2024, but if you don't, for 25, you can do it.
Yeah, because you can carry it over.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm
and
saying.
You'd probably want to get the money as soon as you could, so why wouldn't you use it for 24?
It depends on your tax, you know, how big it is and your tax.
This is a tax credit, so as long as you contribute more than $250, then everything above that is still off the same rate, no matter what your income is.
Okay, so why don't we see what this shaila is? This has nothing to do with December 31st, because it doesn't exist in Israel. I guess maybe the fiscal year does end the same as ours in Israel, I would imagine.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so Toram Litzdaka v'kibel hachzer mas. Person makes a charitable donation and gets a return on his taxes. Lemizeh shayach. So who does it belong to? Does it belong to him, or does he have to give it back to tzedakah?
Or do you have to give 10% of what you get?
Or would you have to give 10% of what you gave back? In other words, is it income? Is it part of the charitable donation? In which case it belongs to charity. Okay, let's take a look. Adam shetaram truma haguna v'kibel hechzari mas avur haksafim shetaram. A person made a proper charitable donation and as a result got a tax return. He got, right, a rebate. That's what I meant to say. He got a rebate on his taxes. So, lemi shayach hakesef. So, let's say he made a sizable donation, like a $25,000 donation. And what would he get back depending on his tax bracket? Maybe he get 10,000 back. And now the question is, what is he supposed to do with that $10,000? And does that now deduct from his what's the word? His truma, his meiser. L'mi shayach hakesef li'irgun hatzdaka shelo hu toram o l'toreh. Who gets to keep that money? Is it the charitable donation who can say to him, you made a $25,000 donation to us and you got $10,000 back. We are entitled to that money because that's part of the $10,000 donation. Okay. Or does it belong to the donor? Now, of course, we're all laughing, right? Because it sounds absurd, right? And no one would in their right mind. So let's see. Hechzarei mas hachnasa she'adam mekabel b'tur ksofim shetaram zoche bahem hatorem. So the first line he says, obviously, the money belongs to the donor. Avol yitein litzdaka ma'aser mehechzarei hamas shekibel, but he has to give meiser. He has to give his tithe, either 10 or 20%, like we learned when we learned Hilchos tzedakah, from the return that he received. If that indeed is his minhag, to take meiser on all of his money. Now, let me.
He's not getting money back. He's just paying us tax. So, he's not paying 10,000 back. He's just still paying 80,000 a government. He's only getting 7,000. So, how is he getting money?
Well, let's assume that up until then, that was not considered to be his earned income. You only have to give meiser. You only have to tithe the money that you net at the end of the year, right? So after taxes. So let's say his income was, let's say, $250,000, and out of that he gave $25,000 to charity. So
like his net income was
his net income was $250,000. Out of his gross income, he gave $25,000 to charity, and he was able to get $10,000 back. So he netted now $260,000.
Right.
So instead of giving $25,000 to charity, he now has to give $26,000 to charity. So that essentially means that when he gets the $10,000 tax return, he's got to give 1,000 of it to charity.
Yeah.
It's a refund.
Yeah, it makes sense.
We'll make a refund.
Different way. I agree with you saying. That's a different way to look at that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a refund, he's getting.
Yeah.
a refund.
I look at pay less tax, I see a huge amount of it, so instead of paying
It's the same. thing.
100,000 of taxes, I pay 90,000 tax, but the same way.
Just means your net income went up.
Just backdoor that, you're right, to get
Your
it.
net income went up, so then you have to pay more and nicer, because your net income went up.
Yeah,
Don't worry about that.
okay, that's all that Rav Sharaga writes on this issue. That's all he writes, but now let's take a look at some of the, let's look at the notes. Okay, from the Makor
And it
Baruch.
doesn't have to go to the same tzedakah, like they're coming to say, give me that. But you can give it to anything.
Presumably so, yeah. Now, Yesh shehi'iru bazeh mimashakasav harama v'zeh lashona. So some could look at this critically based on what the Rama writes. Ein nosin v'nostin b'tzedakah haomedet lechalek la'aniyim ki im kesef b'kesef v'chayotze bo shema yavo aniyim v'lo yihi lahem ma'ot lechalek ayin sham. So the Shulchan Aruch paskins that you're not allowed to do business with charity funds. You're not allowed to, let's say, invest charity money unless you're just exchanging it cash for cash. Like if you can use charity money, let's say, to give someone change, but you're not allowed to use charity money, let's say, to purchase real estate or to invest in things like that, because, and the reason being, is that what if poor people come and they want some of that charity money and you don't have because you've already invested it? So charity money must remain liquid. When a fund receives charity, it must remain liquid. Now, does that mean that if you have a multi-million-dollar charity fund, it always has to remain liquid? I mean, I don't know how does that translate into modern days?
So is it just a
Foundation.
percentage?
When you
Yeah,
have foundation.
when you have charitable foundations,
Yeah.
and they have a certain amount of liquidity such that under normal circumstances, they would be able to satisfy all of their donors' requests and still have money left over to invest and to grow the fund.
It's almost like
There's
banks.
also legislation for trustees and executors and
Okay.
stuff, but they have money, what they do with it, there's approved funds, usually non-risk things, it's so risky that they're allowed to invest in.
Yeah,
To
right.
protect the money.
right. So this,
It's almost like banks.
the Ramah does not even address the risk factor. He's addressing the liquidity factor. So the imkain gam benidon didan harehu miraveach al yedei kesef shel tzedakah. So the argument maybe you could make is based on what the Ramah says. Are you allowed to make profit off of charity money? So that doesn't make any sense to me why you should apply the law of the Ramah to over here. The Ramah is talking about the need for liquidity, he's not across the board prohibiting profiting off of charity money. So Amnam Pasha Dezelo Shach Klal Nidon Didan, but obviously this is no application to our case. The Milvad the Chshasha Sarama Lo Shayechet Benidon Didan. The concern of the Ramah about liquidity for aniyim who may come along is the issue that he's concerned about. Od Zos, Kevin Shehu Notenet HaKesef Litzdaka Legamre, V'hu Lo Meraveach Al Yedei Kesef Hatzdaka Gufe, because and second of all, the charitable donation of $25,000 is going exclusively to the tzedakah. You're not making any money off of the charity money itself. Rak shahamas hachnasa machzir lo mehamas sheshilem, but the income tax is refunded to you, right? So it's got nothing to do with the charitable donation you made. They're not taking money from the $25,000 that you gave to charity. You're getting money from a completely different source. You're getting it from the CRA. Yotze shelo hirviach klum mehatzdaka atzma. So you're not profiting off the charity money itself. V'chein kasav ha'igros Moshe kedavar pashut. And the Rav Moshe writes this as an obvious point. V'chein harich b'shut yashiv Yitzchak ayin sham. V'chein kasav b'sefer v'alehu lo yibol b'shem hagrashas orbach v'kasav b'shut mayin omer shekein pasuk Rabbeinu Hagadol Hagon Rav Ovadia Yosef Zatzal. Okay. So this is interesting. This sefer is written after Rav Ovadia passed away. It looks like. When did Rav Ovadia pass away? It's not that long ago. was it 5, 6 years ago? V'hinei b'mayan omer sham. So he says he's I'm not sure. Yeah, the Shalos Tshuvas Mayan Omer. In the Sefer b'Mayan Omer Sham Kasav Be'aros L'Damos Nidon L'Masha Kasav Mar B'Shulchan Aruch. If anything, we should compare it to the following case in the Shulchan Aruch. Shem Ruvain Shalach Shliach Liknot Davar. Ruvain sends a shaliach to purchase something for him. V'hashaliach kibel matana b'temura l'kniyato. And the shaliach receives a gift because of his purchase. In other words, I send my shaliach to go to a grand opening at Olive Branch to go buy my groceries. And they happen to be giving out to the first 1,000 customers. They're what?
Jars of olives.
They're giving out jars of olives. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll go with yours. So tzrichim lachloket hamatana ayin sham. So the shaliach has to relinquish the jar of olives to the guy who sent him to buy the groceries. The imkain, and if so, lichaora gam benidon didan shuhu shilem kesef shel tzedaka uvitmura lazeh zacha b'matana shekibel hachzer mehamas. So if so, you can make the following argument. I make a charitable donation to charity X, and as a result of my charitable donation, I get a gift from the CRA. They give me a gift of a tax refund. Im kain yishlach lo kakesef u'lishalim chatzi mimenu litzdaka ad kan tochen devarav. So therefore, shouldn't I have to relinquish at least a portion, at least a half of the money for the charity?
That particular charity.
Yeah, particular because listen, because of them, I got this gift from the CRA. He calls it a gift. Right.
I understand. We're looking at it because I do quarterly installments. So instead of paying 25,000, I'm only going to pay 15,000. So I'm not getting a gift from CRA. I'm just paying them less tax.
It's the same thing.
I'm still giving out a check of 15,000.
It's the same.
I don't.
So you
think
think-
Yeah. So clearly, I remember when Bill Clinton was running for president, going back now 30 years, and he said, I remember him getting on late night television, and because they were talking about, is it true what you're saying that you're going to have to raise taxes if you get elected? And he said, well, we're going to ask every American to contribute their share. So, and that was like the big thing.
Yeah.
Contribute. No, contribution is voluntary. But that's political speakeasy. Yeah. Right. So
If I go shopping, I do often it's service for the company. I pay with their credit card. Can I use my points card to get points?
So that's not really helpful.
yeah, that's another issue.
Air miles.
Air miles, right? If you fly for the corporation, and you get your air miles. So there are certain large corporations which will require you to transfer your air miles to.
Aeroplane doesn't allow you to do that. Aeroplane will only points to the person flying, not to who's paid.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that. So maybe, but there used to be, I don't know if it still exists, but there used to be large corporations that said, listen, you have to relinquish your points. But so I guess it all depends if you're, as far as working for a private individual, it depends on the nature of your contract, your work contract, right? But if in the absence of a work contract, any benefit that you get acting as a shaliach for somebody else, you have to relinquish to the person who dispatched you. Amnam nira delo dami. But of course, again, the Makor Baruch says there's no analogy to our case. Chada dehamas hachnasa minakelo mehachov shu chayav lahem velo shu miraveh hachal yedei kesef atzdaka shu natan. First of all, the terminology that you're using is all wrong. It's not that you're getting you're not profiting from your charitable donation. It's just that the CRA is reducing the amount of money that you owe, right?
They're encouraging charitable contributions from
Yeah.
the public.
So the
Instead of
tax
funding these people as much as they should.
the tax refund is not really a refund if you had to give them much more money than what you're getting back. Va'od ha'tzdaka shu notein ze kesef shelo legamri rak shu mitzuveh lateit tzedakah. Secondly, the money, the $25,000 that you gave is not the charity's money, it's your money. And you have a mitzvah of tzedakah, but it's still your money. And so you're not profiting from charity money, you're profiting from your own money, in that sense. It's similar to the following case. Reuven says to Shimon, if you give some of your money, if you give $100 to Levi, I'll give you a gift. Devadei lo nomar sheshimon hirviach al yedei kesef shel Levi. You can't say that Shimon profited from Levi's money. He profited from his own money. He gave $100 to Levi, and Reuven gave him a gift. V'lochein pasku kol haposkim anal shehahechzer mas shayach lo legamre. And therefore, the poskim say very clearly that the refund belongs to the donor 100%.
Yeah, the donor could have donated to any charity, so it's not because of the charity that he's getting the refund, it's his donation.
Precisely. Okay, what was the next point that we were making? So let's see. Aval yitain l'tzedakah meiser. But so you have to give 10% if you normally give meiser. So from the refund. V'chein pasku rov poskei zmanenu ein b'sefer va'aleu lo yibol shekain kasav b'shem hagrashaz orbach zatzal v'chein kasav b'mayan omer b'shem rabbeinu hagadol zatzal v'chein kasav b'minchas tzvi va'od. Amnam b'shut Yashiv Yitzchak b'sof hatshuva kasav shem kvar shilei meiser al sikum zeh mitchila as pater mila'aser mehahechzer. However, the Sefer Yashiv Yitzchak writes that if you already took meiser from your let's say from your gross income instead of your net income, then you wouldn't have to take meiser from the tax refund. It's only if you didn't tithe this refund amount and you didn't count it with your net income, then you'd have to re-tithe it.
But that 10% would be a lot more if it's based on gross income.
Of course,
Taxes.
of course. Veneer kavanaso. So what he means to say is the imlu dugma here viach elef shkalim ba'asakav. Let's say you made 1,000 shekels. V'shilem lamas achnasa 200 shkalim, and out of that 1,000 shekels you had to pay 200 shekels income tax. Okay. Ve'achar kach shilem l'tzedakah 80 shkalim. And then you gave a charitable donation of 80 shekels. Shezeh meiser mehashmona meos shanisharu biyado achar nikoi mashashilem lamas. So that is, so that 80 shekels that you donated to charity is a deduction from the 800 shekels that you had after taxes. Ve'achar kach kibel hachzer mas shel 30 shkalim. And as a result of that 80 shekel charitable donation, you got 30 shekels a back refund from the tax collector. Az ka'et chayav lahafrish meiser mehashloshim kivin shezeh hechzer mehamatayim sheme'olam lo hifrish mimena meiser. So that being the case, you would have to take meiser from the 30 shekels because basically the tax department is giving you back some of the 200 shekels that you had paid in income tax.
Yeah.
But let's say you had already tithed from your gross income, then okay. So obviously, he's just going over this example. Okay. And then so I'll skip the rest of that footnote. But what was the final thing that he said? That you have to take meiser from the second. If that is taka your minhag to tithe everything that comes of your net income. He says mashma mediver rabbeinu hamachaber shlita shemaiser ksafim habirak minhag v'lo chiyuv mamish. It sounds like from Rav Sharaga that tithing, taking 10 or 20% of your income, is not an absolute obligation, but rather it's a minhag. Those of you who were with us when we learned Hilchos Tzedakah know that this was a big machlokes, whether tithing, that is taking a strict 10 or 20% of your net income, is an absolute halachic obligation, or whether it's just a minhag. V'chein kasav habach shemaiser ksafim eino chiyav lo min haTorah v'lo midrabanan. And the Bach writes that it is not even a rabbinical obligation. The afal pisha tama alav hataz sharei b'yordei shamavur shu chiyav gamor. Even though the Taz questions the Bach was the Taz's father-in-law, by the way, because it seems like from the language of the Shulchan Aruch that it is an absolute obligation. Mikol makom ayin l'Rabbeinu hagadol zal b'shut yichavedas shehevi sheb'shut maharami Rotenburg kasav lahedja d'maiser ksafim eino min haTorah ela minhag umikol makom mi shekvar noag bazeh eino l'shanosa v'chulei ayin sham. But if a person has already comported himself thusly for a number of years, he should not change. But if it's become, again, the same thing, is that Rav Ovadia says the same thing. If that's already been your regular practice for a long time, then it becomes your obligation. And we've also heard Rav Shraga say that multiple times. We have another couple of minutes.
By the way,
We have to stop today at 6:35. Because
how do we teach our kids then about that?
40 million.
We want to let them know this, that it's not that
Well,
it's just there's different opinions on that? You would want to teach them that, no, you have to give your.
you would want to teach them the value that a good Jew always tithes his net income. You want to give them that value, but you also shouldn't lie to them. You shouldn't say that, oh, it's an absolute obligation according to all of the halachic authorities, but you should encourage them. Yeah.
And I presume that it's based on when you receive the refund. In other words, it'll be in the following year that you receive the refund. So that's the year in which you give it. You don't have to pre-calculate, well, I'm going to be getting a refund on this.
Correct. You're not obligated to
Yeah, so based on-
pre-calculate. When you get the check, that's when you
Yeah.
become liable to tithe it. Asher sha'asav tzedakah mishum she'ibed es kaspo. A wealthy person gets charity because he lost his fortune. So we're going to talk tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. Tomorrow we're off. Tomorrow we're off because of the secular New Year, and we'll resume on Thursday. Okay,
Yeah.
So we'll see this Shuva Mirz Hashem tomorrow. Let's hold it here. Have a great day. Freilich and Chanukah. Chodesh Tov.